The ocean was black that night. Not just dark, black, like the water itself had swallowed all light. Ethan's small salvage sub drifted between the waves, its metal body groaning as the current pulled it off course. His radar had picked up something strange, a heat signature, far from any ship lane. He told himself it was just another wreck. But deep inside, curiosity burned. Then he saw it. Through the small, curved glass of his cockpit, something moved in the water, something glowing faint blue. At first, he thought it was a piece of alien tech. But then the shape shifted, the human shape. Arms, legs, hair drifting like golden fire in the dark. A woman. His heart slammed into his ribs. She was sinking fast, her limbs slow and heavy like she had no strength left. "Hold on," Ethan muttered, throwing the sub into reverse thrusters. He slammed the manual override, opening the lower hatch. Cold water rushed in as he dove out into the alien sea. The water was freezing, but he didn't care. Every kick of his legs pulled him closer to her. As he reached her, he saw her face, skin the color of deep sky, smooth and glowing faintly in the darkness. Her eyes were closed. Her chest wasn't moving. "No, no, no, stay with me," Ethan gasped, hooking one arm under her and kicking toward the sub. Inside, he pulled her onto the deck, water pooling around them. She was heavier than she looked, her ornate red and gold suit covered in delicate embroidery and metal clasps. It looked more like royal armor than anything practical. Her head lolled to the side. Ethan pressed his hands to her chest and started compressions. 1, 2, 3. On the fourth push, faint glowing lines lit up under his palms, strange alien symbols etched into her skin. "What the hell?" he breathed. The lines pulsed once, twice, and then her body jolted. She coughed, water spilling from her mouth, and her eyes shot open. They were sharp, icy blue, and locked on him like a predator. Before he could say a word, she rolled, moving faster than he thought possible, and in one smooth motion pulled a blade from her thigh strap. The tip pressed against his throat. "Why?" she demanded, voice low and dangerous. "Did you touch me?" Ethan froze, hands lifted. "You were drowning. I pulled you out." "You're welcome." Her eyes narrowed, scanning him like she was searching for a lie. The blade didn't move. "You have no idea what you've done." "Yeah," Ethan said, still catching his breath. "I saved your life." Her lips curled, not quite a smile, not quite anger. "In my world, human, that means I belong to you now." Ethan blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" She pushed the blade harder against his skin. "A life for a life. My people call it the blood bond. You save me, you own me. Until I repay it, or kill you." He stared at her, half expecting her to laugh. "That's extreme." Her gaze didn't waver. "You think this is a joke? My people will come for me. They will come for you. And they will not let a bond like this stand." The way she said it sent a shiver through him. Not fear exactly, more like the kind of chill you get when you realize you've stepped into something much bigger than you. She stood, towering over him despite her slender frame. Her wet hair clung to her shoulders, and the dim lights of the sub reflected in the drop sliding down her skin. She looked otherworldly. Dangerous. And far too beautiful for someone holding him at knife point. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lyra," she said, the sound rolling off her tongue like it belonged in a song. "Well, Lyra," Ethan said, slowly lowering his hands, "you're welcome to stab me later. But right now, we're in the middle of an alien ocean, and I'm guessing you didn't end up here by accident." Her eyes flicked toward the small porthole. Outside, the water shifted, shadows moving beneath the surface. "They're already here," she said quietly. "My father's hunters." Ethan frowned. "Your father?" She didn't answer. Instead, she reached down and grabbed his wrist, her grip strong enough to make him wince. "You're not safe anymore, human. The bond means they'll kill you first, then drag me back." Yeah, Ethan said with a grim smile, sounds like a lovely family reunion. Her gaze lingered on him for a long moment, unreadable. Then, with a reluctant sigh, she lowered the blade, but didn't let go of his wrist. We need to move. Now. Ethan glanced at the control panel. The sub wasn't built for speed, but it could hide. Maybe. Fine, he said, pulling the throttle. The engine roared to life, and the sub began to sink deeper, away from the faint lights above. Lyra stepped closer, close enough that he could feel the heat of her skin despite the cold air. Remember this, human, she said, voice low. You saved me, and now I'm yours. But that makes you my problem. Ethan shot her a sideways look. Trust me, Lyra. I have a feeling I'm going to be your problem too. Outside, something huge moved in the water, a shadow with glowing red eyes. And just like that, the hunt began. The hum of the sub was the only sound in the small cabin. Ethan kept his eyes on the controls, pretending not to notice the alien woman standing inches behind him. But Lyra's presence was impossible to ignore. She didn't just stand, she loomed, like a storm cloud ready to strike. You keep staring at the water, he said finally. Expecting something? I can feel them, she replied. Her voice was calm, but it carried a weight. The bond is not only a promise, it is a link. And right now, I feel their anger coming closer. Ethan frowned. The bond again? You really expect me to believe that saving you means you're mine now? Sounds medieval. She stepped around him, leaning one hand on the console. The move brought her close enough for him to see faint blue light pulsing just under her skin, like veins carrying electricity. In my world, she said slowly, this is older than kings. Older than war. If you break it, you die. If I break it, I die. And the hunters will make sure both happen. Ethan blinked. That's comforting. She tilted her head, studying him. Most humans would be afraid. He gave a half smile. Maybe I'm just too tired to panic yet. Lyra's eyes narrowed, then softened, just for a second. You're strange, human. A sudden thud shook the sub. Both their heads snapped toward the sound. Ethan quickly scanned the sonar, nothing. The waters outside looked empty, but deep down, he knew that wasn't true. They're testing your hull, Lyra said quietly. Seeing if it will crack before they board. Good thing this old girl's stubborn, Ethan muttered, tapping the control panel. Lyra didn't smile. Instead, she reached out and touched his arm. The contact was warm, warmer than any human skin he'd felt. Do you feel that? She asked. He frowned. Feel what? She closed her eyes. Your heartbeat. It's faster. The bond lets me sense it, and more. Ethan hesitated. More. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. Your thoughts are loud, human. He felt his ears heat. Great. So now you know I was thinking you're dangerous, she interrupted, though her smirk said she knew exactly what he was going to say. Yes. I know. The sub shuddered again, harder this time. Somewhere outside, metal screeched. Ethan's fingers flew over the controls. You have weapons on that suit of yours? He asked. Some, she said. But the hunters aren't my biggest worry. He glanced at her. What's bigger than hunters trying to kill us? Her gaze locked with his, serious now. The bond is not just a promise, it's a claim. In the eyes of my people, I am yours now. That makes you the most dangerous thing in my world, and the most hunted. Ethan let out a low whistle. Lucky me. Lucky, she repeated. He shrugged. I mean, how many guys get a royal alien woman owing them her life? Her eyes flickered with something unreadable, part annoyance, part curiosity. You still think this is a game, don't you? Before he could answer, the sub's lights flickered. Then a sharp clang echoed through the hull. They've attached a boarding hook, Lyra said, already moving toward the weapons locker. When they come through, stay behind me. Ethan smirked. Not really my style. She paused, glancing over her shoulder. The bond also means if you die. I feel it. So, he said, grabbing a welding torch from the wall, I guess we keep each other alive. For the first time since he met her, Lyra's smile was real, small, but real. Agreed, human. A shadow passed over the porthole, long arms, armored shapes, glowing eyes. The hunters had arrived. Ethan's grip tightened on the torch. Lyra's hand brushed against his just for a second, not accidental. When this is over, she murmured, you will understand what it means to own me, and what it costs. Before he could answer, the first blow hit the hatch. The metal screamed, and water sprayed into the cabin. The hunt wasn't over. It was just getting closer. Ethan woke to warm breath on his face. For a split second, he thought the hunters had made it inside. His hand shot for the welding torch on the floor. But it wasn't a hunter. It was Lyra, kneeling beside him, her golden hair loose and dripping, her blue skin glowing faintly in the dim emergency light. She was close. Too close. You dream loud, she said softly. Ethan blinked. What? I heard you, she went on, tilting her head in that way only she could. You called my name. I did not, he said quickly. Her lips curved in a slow smile, the kind that made him feel like she was playing a game only she knew the rules to. The bond doesn't lie, human. Before he could argue, the sub groaned around them. They had made it out of the hunter zone hours ago, hiding in a rocky undersea canyon. But the pounding rain above and the slow drip from the ceiling kept him on edge. Lyra sat back on the narrow bed, crossing her legs. The red and gold suit clung to her like it had been made just for her, every drop of water catching the light. You need to rest, she said. Ethan shook his head. Can't. We're still in danger. Danger will wait until morning, she said simply. The bond needs us strong. She leaned forward, and for the first time, he noticed how her eyes shifted color when she was close, from icy blue to something warmer. I'm fine, he said, trying to focus on the control screen instead of her. You're not, she said. You haven't closed your eyes since you pulled me from the ocean. Ethan looked at her. Maybe I don't trust you enough to sleep. Her smile deepened, but there was no offense in it. Good. You shouldn't. I am not harmless. A faint vibration ran through the sub, not the hunters this time, but the distant call of something massive moving in the deep. Lyra's gaze flicked toward the hull. Not harmless, Ethan repeated, but still here. She met his eyes, serious now. Until the bond is broken, or fulfilled. I stay. And how do we fulfill it? He asked. Her pause was deliberate. By saving your life in return, or by claiming it. Ethan let out a short laugh. Sounds romantic. Her head tilted. You think death is romantic? With you? I'm still deciding. Her smirk returned, but her gaze shifted again, this time to the small space beside him. Move over. What? The bed is small. I'm not sleeping on the floor. Remember? Distance makes the bond unstable. Ethan sighed. This is going to be a long night. Lyra stretched out beside him, the heat of her body cutting through the cold air instantly. She closed her eyes, but he could tell she wasn't fully asleep. Every few minutes, she'd open them again, scanning the shadows as if expecting something to crawl out of the dark. Finally, after an hour, she whispered, Do you always live like this, human? Alone, waiting for the next danger. Ethan stared at the ceiling. Pretty much. It's quieter that way. She studied him for a long moment. Quieter, but emptier. He didn't answer. Outside, the deep-sea current roared like distant thunder. Somewhere out there, the hunters were still looking. And inside the sub, the bond between them, whatever it really was, had just started to pull them closer. Ethan woke to the sound of someone singing. Not just a song, it was a low, haunting melody that seemed to vibrate in the walls of the sub. He opened his eyes and found Lyra standing barefoot near the porthole, looking out into the black water. Her lips moved slowly, the alien words wrapping around each other like smoke. "What are you doing?" Ethan asked, voice still rough from sleep. Her gaze stayed on the water. "Calling them away." Ethan sat up. "Calling who away?" "The predators," she said simply. "The bond carries my voice through the deep. If they hear me, they might follow another trail." "Might," Ethan repeated. "That's not very comforting." She turned, her hair falling over one shoulder. "It's better than waiting for them to tear the hull apart." Before Ethan could answer, the sonar lit up, 3 red blips, closing fast. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Hunters." Ethan moved to the controls. "Strap in." "No," she said, stepping closer. "Give me the controls." Ethan blinked. "You know how to drive a human sub?" Her lips curved. "I know how to outrun death." Something in her voice made him move aside. Lyra slid into the pilot's seat, her fingers moving over the controls like she'd been born there. The sub lurched forward, diving into a narrow canyon of black rock. The hunters followed. "You do know there's a dead end down here, right?" Ethan said, gripping the side rail as the sub scraped against the rock. Lyra didn't answer. Instead, she reached into her suit and pulled out a small metal disc covered in glowing runes. She slammed it onto the console. The runes pulsed, and the canyon ahead shimmered like heat haze. "What did you just do?" Ethan demanded. "Open the door," she said. The shimmer solidified into a tunnel of light, and the sub shot through. For a moment, Ethan's vision swam, and then they were somewhere else entirely. The water was clearer here, lit by faint beams from above. "You have teleport tech?" Ethan asked, still trying to catch his breath. "Not tech," Lyra said. "Ancestral magic. My family keeps it for emergencies." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Family? You keep dropping that word like it's nothing." Lyra glanced at him. "I told you my father's hunters want me back. I didn't tell you why." "Let me guess," Ethan said. "You're not just some random alien woman who fell overboard." Her smirk was sharp. "No. I'm the only daughter of High Lord Veyron. And he thinks you stole me." Ethan's mouth went dry. "Great. So I'm not just hunted, I'm public enemy number 1 to your entire species." The sonar beeped again. The hunters had found the tunnel. "They'll be here soon," Lyra said, her voice low. "And this time, there's no running." She handed him a small alien blade, balanced perfectly in his palm. "Stay close to me, human. If you die, I die. And I'm not ready to die yet." Ethan looked at her, saw the determination in her eyes, and the spark of something else. The bond between them wasn't just survival anymore. It was starting to feel like destiny. Ethan didn't expect to wake up with a blade at his throat. But there it was, sharp, cold, and held by the same alien woman who had slept beside him only hours ago. "Don't move," Lyra whispered. Her eyes weren't on him, they were on the dark water outside the porthole. Through the glass, a shadow drifted past, slow and deliberate. Not a hunter ship? Bigger. Heavier. "What is that?" Ethan breathed. "Not what," Lyra said. "Who?" Before he could ask, the sub's hull rang like a bell, something had latched on. Lyra pulled him toward the back compartment. "We fight here. Small space. They can't surround us." Ethan smirked despite the adrenaline. "Close quarters. Great. I always wanted to wrestle aliens in a closet." She shot him a look, half warning, half amusement. "Stay alive, human, and maybe you'll get to wrestle me instead." The first intruder forced its way through the hatch, a tall, armored hunter with eyes like molten gold. Ethan's welding torch roared to life, sparks showering the walls as he swung it. The hunter hissed, retreating just enough for Lyra to slide in front of him. Her movements were fast, almost beautiful, a flash of red and gold, the arc of her blade catching the dim light before sinking into alien armor. Ethan covered her back, shoving another attacker into the wall. "You fight like someone who's done this before." "I have," she said, spinning to kick the first hunter across the small room. "You think a warlord's daughter grows up safe?" Another blow shook the sub, more were coming in. Ethan's muscles burned, his pulse hammering. Lyra moved in sync with him now, the bond between them making their reactions almost identical. At one point, her arm brushed his, her eyes locking with his for just a heartbeat too long. "Don't get distracted," she warned, but her smirk said she knew he already was. They fought until the last hunter fell, sliding to the floor with a low groan. The air inside was hot now, their breaths quick and shallow. Ethan leaned back against the wall. "Remind me never to make you angry." Lyra wiped the blade clean on a fallen hunter's armor. "You already have. And yet, you're still breathing." She stepped closer, so close he could smell the faint metallic scent of her skin. "That's twice now you've fought for me." "And?" he asked. Her voice dropped. "And the bond grows stronger when we fight side by side. Soon, we won't need words to know what the other is thinking." Ethan grinned. "That's good. Means you'll know I'm thinking about dinner right now." Her smirk returned, but her eyes stayed locked on his. "Liar. You're thinking about me?" Before he could answer, the sub's warning alarm blared, something massive was approaching fast. And this time, Lyra's confident smile faded. The sub's alarm wasn't screaming anymore. It was howling. Ethan rushed to the cockpit just as the shadow appeared, filling the entire front viewport. At first, he thought it was a ship. Then it moved, and his stomach dropped. It was a living thing. A massive armored sea beast, eyes burning like molten silver, long spines trailing behind it like a crown. It swam closer, slow and deliberate, until its face was all Ethan could see. Lyra froze. Not in fear, but in recognition. "Veyrath," she whispered. "Friend of yours?" Ethan asked. "My father's pet," she said, her voice tight. And his voice. Before Ethan could ask what she meant, the creature's mouth opened, not to attack, but to speak. The words were deep, vibrating through the water and the sub's hull at the same time. "Lyra. Daughter. Return, and the human lives." Ethan's grip on the control panel tightened. "And if you don't?" The silver eye shifted toward him. "Then he dies first." And slowly. Lyra stepped forward, pressing her palm against the glass. "Tell my father. I am not his property." The beast's eyes narrowed. "You were his before you were born. The human is nothing. Release the bond, and he will be forgotten." Ethan looked at her. "Release the bond? You can do that?" "Yes," she said quietly. "But it would mean cutting the link, ending everything between us." Her tone wasn't just about survival. Ethan could hear something else there, hesitation. "Do it," he said, even though it felt like swallowing glass. "I'm not worth." She cut him off, turning sharply. "You are. More than you know." Before he could react, she pulled him close, so close he could feel her heartbeat against his chest. "We fight," she said, her voice fierce. "And if we fall together." Ethan's grin was small but real. "Now that's a plan I like." Lyra moved fast, opening a hidden compartment in the sub's floor. Inside was a case covered in golden runes. She snapped it open, revealing 2 alien weapons, shaped like curved blades fused with glowing cores. "Bond blades," she said. "When we fight with these, our strikes are one." Ethan took one, feeling the strange weight settle into his palm. It was warm. Alive. The beast roared, ramming the sub. Metal screamed, alarms blared, and water sprayed from a crack in the side. Time to move! Ethan shouted. They pushed out into the open water, the blades glowing brighter as they fought side by side, striking at armored hunters riding the beast's flanks. Every slash Lyra made seemed to echo in Ethan's arm, every hit he landed made her move faster. For the first time, they weren't just fighting together. They were fighting as one. The bond burned between them, not as a chain, but as something electric, alive, and unstoppable. And for the first time, Ethan wondered if winning this fight might change everything. The water was calm again. Too calm. Ethan sat in the pilot's chair, chest still heaving from the fight. The beast was gone, drifting into the deep, taking the last of the hunters with it. The sonar was clear for the first time in days. They had won. Lyra stood near the porthole, watching the last faint shimmer vanish into the darkness. Her golden hair clung to her shoulders, the faint blue glow of her skin pulsing like a heartbeat. "You did well, human," she said at last. Ethan smirked. "We both did." He expected her to smile back. She didn't. Instead, she turned to face him fully. "The bond is complete." The words hit him harder than the fight had. "Complete? What does that mean?" "I saved your life," she said, voice steady. "The debt is paid. I am free to leave." For a moment, he didn't know what to say. He'd spent every breath, every heartbeat in the past days just trying to keep her alive, and now she was talking about walking away. "You could just go?" he asked quietly. She nodded. "I could. My father will hunt me no more. And you could return to your quiet life." Ethan leaned back in his seat, trying to read her. "And is that what you want?" Her eyes softened, but only for a second. "What I want is dangerous to say." Before he could push, the subscom system crackled to life. A deep voice filled the cabin. "Human, step away from her." Ethan froze. "Who the hell?" Lyra's jaw tightened. "My father." The voice was calm, almost too calm. "I will grant you safe passage back to your world. But Lyra comes home. Now." Ethan glanced at her. "And if I say no?" The voice chuckled. "Then you both die where you float." Lyra stepped closer, close enough that her hand brushed his. "If I stay with you, Ethan, you will never stop running. Never stop fighting." He met her gaze. "Maybe I'm okay with that." Her lips curved, but it wasn't her usual smirk, it was something deeper. "Then remember, you chose this." Before he could react, she spun toward the companel and spoke in her alien tongue, fast, sharp words like lightning. Then she slammed her hand on the controls, cutting the signal. Ethan stared. "What did you just do?" "I declared war," she said simply. Outside the viewport, the calm water began to boil, dozens of enemy signals appearing on the sonar. But Lyra's hand stayed on his, fingers curling just enough to say she wasn't going anywhere. "Guess we're not done running after all," Ethan said, his grin returning. Her answering smile was fierce. "No, human. Now, we chase them." And as the sub surged forward into the boiling black, the bond between them burned brighter than ever, not as a chain, but as a choice.